Belfontaine, and you're listening to the HomeBuyers Hour on WCPT AM 820. And in the studio with me, we have Patrick Loftus of Loftus Law. Pat, if you don't mind, give us a hello and tell people to do what they're supposed to be doing with that smash and like button.
Hello. Good morning. My name is Patrick Loftus. I am a real estate lawyer. My law firm is called Loftus Law, LLC. And you can reach me at 773-632-8330. I just discovered that we are also a podcast.
Yay.
Boy, it only took me, 6-8 months to figure that one out.
Season 2, episode 16.
Yeah, so is it really?
It is.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know we were. Oh, wow. Okay, so make sure that you follow us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating because that's going to help people find us. Thanks.
Please and thank you. And it's awesome. Kelly Ipjian of Exit Strategy Realty is also in the studio with us. We found her because of her uniqueness about being proactive, and just because she has the same belief of the word reputation that I do. So because of which she drew a lot of attention from me. Kelly, if you don't mind, please take a few moments. Tell us about you, your business, and how do people get hold of you in case they want to talk to you?
Sure. My name is Kelly Ipjian. As Charles mentioned, based out of the Skokie area. That's where my office is. And live in Glenview. 3 kids. I'll say hello now. Remy, Alyssa, and Nairi, all in school right now. How to get a hold of me, find me on social media, Kelly Ipjian, or my phone number is 224-384-5224.
Outstanding. And we got a lot to talk about today, so I'm kind of excited about that. On the phone with us, we got Joey Matthews from the Federal Savings Bank. Joey, give us the routine on how to get hold of you and tell us what's going on in the finance world, please.
Yes, sir. Joey Matthews, the VA loan nerd. You can call me at 630-235-2405 or text me. It's a cell phone. Either one works. You can find me on social media as the VA loan nerd on all platforms, and my NMLS 1330694. All right, compliance out of the way. So what is going on in the world of finances? Well, the U.S. is showing signs of stress in the economy, right? The ADP jobs report came out today about 116,000 jobs short of expectations. So we are seeing that ripple through the 10-year Treasury right now. We opened the day on the 10-year Treasury at a 3.3% yield, and we are currently down to a 3.27, just over 3.25, which is the lowest we've been since, the yield. Sometime last year, for sure.
What does that mean to me, though? I mean, what do I care?
Why does the yield matter to you? So the mortgage-backed security market pivots heavily off of the 10-year Treasury yield. It's a long-term yield on bonds. So if you buy a yield today, you can expect, if you buy the 10-year Treasury note today, you can expect a yield of 3.29% on this over 10 years, right? And I am still going back, and I do not see the last time we were under 3.2. So we are in a happy place. That's year to date. Hold on.
Does that mean the rates are going down or up?
Rates will come down, yeah. So September of 2022 is the last time we were under 3.3% on the yield. So
September of 22. So about
yes.
Yeah, so think about it this way. If I have $1 billion to invest and I can go stick that in a 10-year Treasury yielding 3.2%, and I get 3.2% on my money every year for the next 10 years, I'm going to need, in order to make a riskier bet, which is to lend money in the mortgage market, I'm going to need a higher interest rate in order to reflect that higher risk. So, Joey, tell me if I've mistaken
Crushed it. Knocked it out of the park. That's what he does, though, every day.
I'm all about analysis. Yeah.
So I've learned, and Kelly, I wouldn't mind your 2 cents in on this, but for our business, it seems like that when the rates are going down, we slow down. And then when the rates are going up, it's that FOMO, and then all of a sudden people want to buy. What do you see is going to be happening with stuff like Joey said?
So I've only been a real estate agent for 1 year now, and I haven't had any of the rates affect me. I've been just so busy the entire year. And so for me, I just have been blessed with enough customers to work with me. However, I do have customers that will say, oh, their interest rate's too high. Should I not buy right now? Should I wait? My opinion to my clients is, you could rent. However, you're just putting all your money towards rent and not building your equity. So I try to leave the interest rate aside and let the clients, make that decision.
I still go back to when I bought my first house in 91, it was 18% interest.
81.
81.
Would it be the early 80s?
No, it was 91. But the
okay.
rates were up there, but it's like right then is when they all started gradually dropping. I ended up getting an adjustable rate mortgage, and every month it was cheaper, because the rates kept dropping for like 2-3 years straight.
Yeah. When my arm adjusted down, that was a good day. Now, it was a bad day when it adjusted back up this year, but it didn't end up being as horrible as I thought it was going to be. It's still less. I borrowed that money in 2007 to buy a townhouse, and my mortgage payment was, and this is just principal and interest, so we're not, there's no escrow on that one. So interest rate was 6.25 when I borrowed it on 10-1 arm. So every year it adjusts. Now, after 10 years, it adjusted down to like $850. I was just like, yes.
Free money.
And then with, put more money in my pocket.
Yeah.
Now, with the interest rates going up, I was absolutely dreading that letter to adjust. And actually, it's still under 1,000. So, to me, that gives a little bit of context as far as when people are like, oh my gosh, the interest rates are so high, it's so horrible. It's like, you need to look farther down the timeline to figure out some context on it. And yes, if you only go back, it's like when you're looking at a stock, or if you're looking at Bitcoin and they'll show you the 1-day graph on it, and you go, well, what am I going to do with that? It's an interesting graph because the way that they'll make it look is that this thing's moving and shaking, but then you zoom out and you go, well, what's the 5-year, what's the 10-year on this look like? And you look at that graph and it gives you a lot more context.
Nice. No, I like all that stuff. So Joey, you didn't get to be at breakfast with us, and we usually go out to breakfast beforehand so we could get to know our guest host here, and then just find our talking points where it comes to it. But one of the things that she made me smile very deeply on was when she was talking about being proactive. And, I'm like, well, wait a minute. Our society is a very reactive society. So I asked her to expound a little bit about, as a real estate agent or a real estate broker, forgive me, how are you proactive with your clients? If you could go into greater detail with me.
Sure.
And I'm going to ask beforehand, I'm going to ask all the other real estate agents, take notes right now, because this is a big deal.
So I think, Charles, at breakfast, we were talking about how my background's a little unique. I came from the corporate world. Was an executive assistant, and in that job, I was always constantly proactive and making sure I did things before I knew somebody would ask. I didn't want anybody to ask for anything. I wanted it to be available, and so I've brought that into real estate, and especially for the first-time home buyers, they don't know what the process looks like, so I handhold them and make sure that they're aware of what is coming, and answer the question before it even hits.
Give me an example of that. I mean, like, what is your proactiveness before you even take somebody out? What are, to do your very first showing? What are going to be some of your check boxes?
So finding a home, there's so many different types of homes, right? I sit down with my client and understand truly what are they looking for in their home. And even down to the one example I was mentioning earlier, Charles, was I had a client that, wanted to make sure the windows aren't old and the furnace and the AC, because they don't want to bear that burden of an expense within the first few years of purchasing a home. So I actually put together a spreadsheet of what their wants are. They might want a basement or have to have a backyard. So those details are important, and I put it all in a spreadsheet. So as we're looking at possible homes, plugging that in, and if it doesn't check the necessary boxes, then we skip over it.
Yeah, I love it.
Kelly, I want to drill down a little further into something that you mentioned about your background that I think might be getting lost in the shuffle here, and that is you were an executive assistant. I'm not sure most people truly understand the level of expectations that the executive level person has of
You got to
someone.
run the company without the money. I
Well,
get what an executive assistant is. That's the boss.
They don't want to ever be caught flat-footed. They
No.
don't ever want to be in a situation where
Good
they
point.
have to worry about any detail whatsoever. And if you ever screw that up, even if you didn't realize what was supposed to happen, it's your hiney, I guess we'll say. So,
I agree, and I built my reputation as an executive assistant to the highest level, where if the CEO was going on vacation, he was comfortable. Yeah, Kelly's going to run it. She'll take care of everything I need. So things are working while he's on vacation, even. So being that behind the scenes person, just making the clock tick.
yeah, you have standards probably that even I would look at and say that is like way above and beyond what someone needs to have. But that's not meant as a criticism. That's meant as sort of a expression of a superpower that you have that I think needs to have some attention drawn to it.
Mm-hmm.
But you and I both have assistants, Pat, and quite frankly, I love them. Right now, Maria, John's moving to another thing. So we picked up a new assistant, Maria, and you hit it on the head. I need them to do a lot of the stuff that I can do. I know that they want me to verify stuff like that. Do you have an assistant yet, or no?
I do not have an assistant yet. I think I'm getting there soon. I will need one.
Boy, they better be
but
ready.
I do have kids that are old enough now where I can hopefully try to train them.
Are you?
Do things for me.
My God,
So
child labor.
Yeah.
Let's call somebody here.
Yeah.
No, they can help with family.
Isn't that half why you have kids, so that they can do some of the chores and mow the lawn and all that good stuff?
That's true, but it's more so they can learn the business, and they're going to have an idea. There's so many things about being in business for yourself than being a W-2 employee that are so different, and knowing how to handle the differences between those. One of my favorite sayings, and I forgot where I stole this from, but I want to work today like most people aren't willing to do, so that I can live a life in the future that most people can't. All right. And that's not a bad thing, work hard now and stuff like that, so I could taper things down a little bit later.
Yeah, I just feel like the experience that her clients are going to get is going to be a higher level experience. And you probably don't even realize it because you've not seen how other agents work. But the standards you have are going to be so much higher, and your clients. I mean, you're 1 year in, and you've got more to do than you know what to do with, and I think that reflects on the fact that people are obviously appreciating what you bring to the table.
Absolutely. So showings, you got your checklist or your spreadsheets that are going to be mostly what does the client want? What are their deal killers? What are the things we're going to be finding in the houses, so we're not wasting everybody's time showing them something they're not going to want.
Right.
Now they find the house that they want, you put a contract. Is there another spreadsheet that goes with putting a contract together?
No, there's not another spreadsheet that now I'm so well versed in doing it. I know, what key pieces to put in the contracts, but there isn't a spreadsheet. But I do walk them through step by step. Here's what you're signing.
Okay.
Not here, just sign this, but they need to understand what it is.
Which is important.
For signing. Mm-hmm.
Usually that's what the attorney does, and Patrick's smiling right now.
Well, no, not necessarily. Once it lands on my desk, I would have generally assumed that whoever's referred this business to me has at least explained the rudimentary details. But I think it's important. I don't have personal experience with this, but my guess is that there's probably more than a few agents that simply put together the contract, load it into DocuSign or Dotloop, whatever it is. They go, click the button, and sign this thing, and maybe the client doesn't fully appreciate what's in there. Depending on which form you use. The most often form used is the Multi-Board 7.0. It's a 13-page document. It's a lot of stuff in there. Now you don't have to explain it line by line. That is unnecessary. There's a reason why that contract is used. It's meant to serve both sides more or less equally, more or less.
But some agents don't do it right. I mean, I remember when we sold our house down in Bolingbrook, and the the buyer's real estate agent, when they help them fill out the conference, there's one or contract, there's one portion in there where you put in like washing machine, furnace, air conditioner. It's like a whole bunch of check boxes, right? He took one big X and crossed all that stuff out. And then they beat us up on the price, you know? So I'm like, okay, let's talk about, you know, we're getting closer to closing. I was kind of a jerk here, you know, a little bit, but all right, what do you guys want to do about the air conditioning and the furnace? I'm going to sell them on eBay. Do you want to buy them? And they're like, you can't do that. I said, yeah, I can. You excluded them from the agreement, not me. You know, so I absolutely can. And then they ended up giving us a little bit more, you know, but we already had a short sale of the house. I'm sorry.
Well,
and it was a beautiful home.
If I get a contract in that's got a big old X through paragraph 3, I'm immediately asking questions, because that is an unusual circumstance. When you do say it's a short sale, I mean, you got a little bit more out of them so that you could get more to the bank. I mean, you know, you weren't walking away with that money, or unless I'm.
And actually, we did, because we sold it on a personal note. We didn't sell it as part of the house.
I see.
So they had to write a separate check for that. You know?
You dirty dog.
Well, you know what though? You come in. I'm sorry, but you've heard me say this before, and I think we all agree that if you make somebody angry, they're gonna want to take angry actions. All right, you come in here and you try to, you know, lowball, and I get it. It was 2008. I didn't have much leverage back then, but yeah, I feel like I got punched in the nose, and I wanted to punch back, and I hope that doesn't make me too bad of a person.
No,
it was only $5,000, so
you know,
I thought it was a good deal.
The things the atrocities I've had to perpetrate on behalf of angry clients, I'm sure I'll have to atone for someday. It's why I go and do volunteer work and other things, trying to balance it out.
So where does the next spreadsheet come into play? We got the contract,
well, it's
and
more
now
of
we
a
got
checklist, you know, of
All right.
things that need to be done. Now the deal is signed.
Okay.
Okay, so
And this is where the race comes in. You got your 5 days to do 6 million things.
Right. So scheduling the home inspection and, you know, working on the financing, getting everything aligned to meet the closing date. Right. And so there's all these different steps that take place, and making sure I'm basically a middleman, coordinating between the attorney and the lender and the home inspector. So it's important to have these key relationships built with these providers that your client is trusting you to bring to the table and work with, and get to closing in a smooth and efficient process.
Yeah, if you constantly have to check up on someone rather than assuming that they're going to do their job, it makes your job infinitesimally. It makes your job a lot harder, which you know, one of my faults is that I assume everyone's going to do their job, and then when they don't, I go, what? And you know, maybe I should be a little less trusting in that regard. But you know,
that's our society. We want to trust other people. We want to hope that everyone has the same values that we have, and that's also part of our society as well. That when that trust gets broken, well, it's very difficult to heal a broken, trustworthy thing.
That's true. And I think it's really important what you're articulating in terms of having these systems set up. I mean, if you don't have already a system in place, you don't have your flow charts, your workflows, all that good stuff, you're going to be thinking on that level just to try to remember all the things, or to, you know, you're going to be basically reinventing the same thing over and over again. But what you're saying is you've already organized it so that you can think on that next level, more of the analytical level, which I think is super important.
Yeah, and going back to being proactive with the client, now I can tell them, okay, home inspection is scheduled on this date, and here's what's next. Here's what's coming proactively, instead of them calling me and asking, what's happening, what's next.
Yeah, to be able to mitigate that fear factor, because let's face it, just about every buyer or seller is going to be operating from a place of fear. This process is largely, I don't want to say unknown, but they'll only experience this a handful of times in their lives. Mm-hmm. And this is what we do every day. And mm-hmm. so to be able to turn down that fear level, you can't turn it off. I mean, that's to tell someone don't have any emotion because I've got this. All you can do is try to turn it down to a manageable level. And I can tell you there are plenty of situations where one person or another is not taking that proactive role, and that fear factor starts to take over for the client, and it's very hard once they've gone into that place of fear, that place of
Emotion.
being on tilt, to bring them back.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Patrick, how do people get hold of you if they have more questions?
If you have more questions, you can find me on Instagram, Loftus_law. Find me on TikTok. Tap that like button. Help me go viral so I can just be an influencer. And that one's Loftus Law, no underscore.
I love it. And Joey, how do they get hold of you?
Well, you can call or text at 630-235-2405 or find me on the social medias as at the VA Loan Nerd.
Sounds good. And my name is Charlie Belfontaine, and our company is Chicagoland Home Inspectors. Our phone number is 312-544-9180. I'm repeating, 312-544-9180. And if you want to talk to an actual human being, you just press number 2, and it'll probably end up coming to me. If you're interested in getting involved in the home inspection business, our school is Home Inspection University of Illinois, and that website is HIUIL, Home Inspection University, Illinois, and that's a .com. I want to go back.
Should we find out how I might contact Kelly if I was interested in doing so?
I was just about to go there. You're going to buy that baloney? But please, go ahead and give us your contact information
Okay,
again,
so
please.
find me on Instagram because I did have a celebrity client last summer.
Nice.
And if you dig deep, you'll see who it was, a
All right.
famous WNBA basketball player.
Nice.
Kelly Ipjian, KELLYIPJIAN.
Good. And your phone number, please?
224-384-5224.
So, and thank you. And I want to get back to, you preparing your clients. And I don't know if we use the word expectations enough, but to me, it's such a powerful word, because when our clients are well informed, then they make educated decisions, and we've exceeded their expectations. If all of a sudden they feel that they get blindsided and they expected you to warn them of that and you didn't, then we violated our trust. So I want to get, we talked about the showings, we talked about the contract. Kind of the next 2 steps are going to be the real estate attorney and the home inspector, and then we'll also get back to close or clear to close for the mortgage. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you prepare your client for the home inspection?
So I do give them a recommendation on who to use, who's reputable.
We need to talk about that.
Well, I didn't know you before today.
We'll get to know each other better, and I'm joking. You do what's best for you and your clients.
Sometimes the client will say, I have a home inspector, and then I'll kind of dig and ask, well, how long have they been in the business? What have you used them on other properties? I like to provide contacts that I've used that I know will get the job done. I know I'll get to closing if I have my, attorney, my preferred lender. There won't be hiccups. Every deal has.
That's more important than getting to closing. That's part of that's a little pet peeve of mine that I just don't like. Our job is to, yes, get to closing, but do it in an extremely ethical way that our client wants to get to closing. We're not trying to manipulate anybody.
Right. And there will be, every deal has their issues.
True.
Something surfaces, and it's how we handle it as a team, and not, I want the attorney to keep me abreast on what's happening. I don't want them just going right to the client. I should know what's happening as well.
Yeah, no, that communication is extremely important. It deals where there's a disconnect there, where I get a letter in, let's say I'm representing a seller, get a letter in from the other side, and there's things in that letter, let's just say in the inspection request, that blindside us. And then all of a sudden, the agent on my side calls the other agent, and they have no idea where that came from, what's going on there. And those are things that really, they don't have to happen. However, if they do happen, if people aren't picking up the phone or just keeping everyone in the loop. I know when I have a letter going out and I think that there's going to be things in there that are a little bit more than perhaps what that agent was expecting, a phone call is definitely going to be made to that agent and saying, look, I'm sending this letter out. I don't want you to be caught off guard when 5 minutes after I click send, you get a angry phone call from the other agent because nobody wants an angry phone call from anybody,
No.
let alone on a real estate transaction.
Yeah, I just got an angry phone call on another home inspector yesterday, the real estate agent who, and I think this is a law, you guys can help me with this. If you're selling, let's say that it's your mom's house and she passed away and now it's an estate sale, don't you have to disclose that if you're the real estate agent?
Do you have to disclose that it is
Because you
an
kind of
estate?
own the house now, don't you?
Well, okay.
No?
Right, now I'm gonna teach a law class. All right.
Thank you.
So the way that works from a legal perspective, someone passes and they own a home and it's not been put in a trust or some other estate planning device. The legal owners of that real estate are going to be either whoever they named in their will, or if there's not a will, whoever their heirs are. So let's say they had 2 kids. So the 2 kids are the owners. Now the deed and the public record's not going to reflect that. That house would, or that estate, the decedent's estate would either need to be probated, or we will have some other way of working it out through the title company, which I'm not going to go off on a tangent there. Would you have to disclose it? I don't know if there's a legal requirement necessarily, but I'm definitely going to find out after I get that contract, because I'm going to pull the prior deed. I'm going to see who's on it, and then I'm going to see what the signature says, and it's not going to match. All right, so that's definitely, one of the fundamental things during attorney review that I'm going to find out, because then we need to figure out, because as often as not, most people don't know what I just said as far as who the legal owner is, and then all of that stuff.
Right.
So then I have to find out, in terms of the heirship, if it was, usually there'd be like one. There will be one of the heirs that is spearheading the operation. So it'll be the oldest, let's just say, because the oldest is always the most responsible.
I take it you're the oldest.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sure my sister will take issue with that statement. But
Right.
so then we need to take a close look and say, is there a brother or a sister that need to also sign on to the contract? Because if only one heir has signed the contract, then they're the only one selling their interest in the property. And the same goes for, let's say a property is owned in joint tenancy, and I see only one signature on the contract. One of the things I'll do is I'll Google if there's an obituary. That way I can see if it's joint tenancy or tenancy by the entirety property, and I see that there's an obituary, I can be fairly certain that that property now is owned just by the surviving joint tenant by the entirety. Whereas if I don't find anything, now I've got to find out, and it's happened before where only one spouse signs and the other one's like, I don't feel like signing. And you go, well,
I think it's more than a divorce.
This is not
or
an
something.
option.
Yeah.
You can go, and I know I'm going on and on. You can go look at the cases. I mean, there's cases out there where only one of the owners signs, or even if there's homestead rights, if one of them, if the person on title is married, and the property is owner occupied, you're going to want, or it's the marital property, you're going to want to get both spouses' signature, even if only one of them is on title. So you asked me a simple question. I'm a lawyer. I don't give simple answers.
I love it.
But these are all things. Yeah, but this is why we have attorney review.
And exactly, because there's so many different avenues and stuff that it's kind of difficult. There's no one size shoe fits all.
No,
is the bottom line.
And why put that on the agent to figure all that out?
Yeah,
that's why I'm here.
But I do believe, and I've seen things in multiple listings service, Kelly, that this is real estate owned, or the broker is the owner of the property. Is that something that's in the law?
That's required. So if
All right.
I, as a agent, own a property, I'm selling my own property, I must indicate that I am the owner of the property, or if it is a close relative.
Is that in the private notes of the MLS, or is that in the agreement, or is that in the public notes? Where's that?
I usually see it in the broker private notes.
Broker private notes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's absolutely something that needs to be on the contract.
But the real thing is that the agent is the actual owner, is where we're going with this, right?
Well,
Patrick?
Owner or buyer, anytime an agent, or like Kelly said, a close relative of an agent is involved in a transaction, you should be erring on the side of disclosing that there's an agent involved in the transaction.
I didn't know that was the case on the buyer's side too.
Yep.
I see that a lot with some of our clients and that. And then how do you, I guess too, I want to switch over to the finance side. I want to bring Joey back in on this one. But Kelly, how do you manage, the clear to close, getting them to that stage? I mean, where is most of the paperwork and everything being done? Is it before you take somebody out to the showing or is it after the contract?
I will not take anyone on a showing unless they have a pre-approval.
Right, but I know some pre-approvals are poop.
That's why 9 times out of 10, the client will use my preferred lender. And so if I get the word or the document, right, that shows pre-approval, then I'm comfortable.
Why are you comfortable?
Because there's that trust built with that reputable company that I've been using for multiple transactions. And I feel comfortable enough after the deal is signed that we're going to get clear to close.
I love it. And Joey, if you don't mind, I know you have your processes and stuff like that, and I know that you pretty much guarantee your approvals. Can you go into detail, like what does it take to get a pre-approval from you?
Knowing that I'm going to ask for everything up front and not being bothered by that. If you're a client who's looking for a pre-qual, you can talk to somebody else. I'm not going to waste your time or my time or a seller's time or a realtor's time.
Give me an example. What do they have to get?
I need their income docs. I need their assets. I need to pull credit. I need to verify deposits. I need to verify if there's anything on their pay stubs that are showing debts that you aren't talking about in the state of Illinois. If you have child support being paid, I'm going to see that on your pay stub. I'm going to see the things that you don't put into the system to verify the income and the debts that you told or did not tell me about. I'm going to verify if you're actually making $10,000 a month or if you're making $7,000 a month.
What difference does that make? That's not that much of a difference.
Yeah,
of course, that's sarcastic Charlie talking there.
No, there's such a scourge in my industry of just lazy people. And so, again, to Kelly's point,
I triggered Joey on this one, didn't I?
Dude, I know you always trigger me.
As soon as he says the word lazy, I know.
We're in trouble.
Minutes.
Yeah.
No, it's you can't get a pre-qual. Don't get a pre-qual. Don't be lazy. Don't get a pre-qual. If you're serious about buying a house, get yourself pre-approved. Right?
What's the difference? I honestly don't know. I thought they're the same thing.
So you still run credit on a pre-qual, but you just work off of stated information that the client puts in. So you're not collecting docs, you're not collecting actual bank statements, you're not collecting pay stubs. You're just like, oh, this guy says he makes $100,000 a month. Let's just pre-qual him off of that, right? And now you go make an offer on a place, and somehow your offer gets accepted because they didn't read pre-qual at the top of the letter. And next thing you know, you're under contract, and oh yeah, we can't do this loan. We never had the docs. That's not our fault.
Is that something?
The fact that pre-quals are legal is insane to me.
Is that something what you're talking about the difference of pre-qual and pre-approval?
I meant I always get pre-approval. I didn't mean to say qualification, but he is right. He's right.
No, you said pre-approval. You said pre-approval, and I was very happy you said pre-approval because pre-quals are such a garbage, freaking stupid thing.
Quit beating around the bush, really. How do you feel?
I'm shaking, dude.
Joey, I've got a question that maybe is a silly question, but you said pull credit, and I know people start to get really antsy as soon as that word is used.
Yeah.
So when you tell someone you're going to pull credit and they go, don't do that, you're going to ruin my credit. What do you tell them to back them off the ledge on that?
Well, for one thing, it's a good gauge on if they're serious or not, right? If they're saying they want to buy a house, but they don't want your credit pulled because you're about to possibly loan them hundreds of thousands of dollars, then there's a disconnect as to what mortgage lending is and what you think it is. I do offer soft pulls. So I'm like, hey, I'll do a soft pull for you. I cannot do a pre-approval with a soft pull because it will not go through AUS. Soft pull credit reports do not go through automated underwriting systems.
I love you. Thank you for doing that. Kelly doesn't know this, but I got a beef with acronyms. So Joey's doing that one for me.
As a desktop underwriter, the loan prospector, I actually prefer Freddie Mac's automated underwriting loan prospector. It's just more friendly in general.
Me too.
Well, hey, for you lender nerds. yeah, so I tell them, are you serious about actually buying a house? Because if you are, you understand that we are looking to lend you a briefcase of money, right? We're going to the closing table with a briefcase of money that you're promising to pay back. Here's the other piece. If you're serious about buying, I also let them know, like, hey, you got a good 30-day window to shop around, and it's not going to count as another hard hit on your credit. So if you've had your credit pulled recently, and say you got pre-approved by Pocket Mortgage, right? And now you come to Kelly, and she's like, hey, and for what it's worth, if you got pre-approved by them, make sure that you're talking to Kelly's lender and say, hey, go ahead and run my credit again, because it's a good credit decision to shop, right? It's a good credit, and that's why they don't hit you multiple times. We'll see the other run, but it's not going to be, I'm losing any points on credit for a second hit or a third hit or a fourth hit. Once you're outside of that window, though, there will be another hit.
How much do you lose on that?
It's like 3 points. It's like
3 points
out of 850 possible.
Yeah, I mean, if that was your thin margin, like Joey said, maybe you really aren't serious.
No, I couldn't agree more. I'm going to brag a little bit, and this is all because of my wife, because I am the worst with money, like there's no tomorrow. But I did hit 848, and that was the highest I ever hit on that thing. She got up at 850, and I'm like, woman, what about me? Why can't you give me those extra 2 points?
We
hasn't had his credit pulled since 1991.
Actually, we watch it now quite a bit.
I have such a hang up about credit scores, because I feel like we as a society have become so conditioned that your credit score means something about you, other than you're a better credit risk than, say, someone with a lower credit score. Like, I've got this credit score, and it's like, all right, but so what else? What else about you? That doesn't tell me anything about you. Not to now I sound like I'm getting on Charlie's
but
back,
you paid your bills. That's the good thing about it. How do you predict the future? By looking at the past, and that's really about it. Pat, how do they get hold of you if they got more questions?
Oh, you can. Let's do email this time. Patrick, Patrick at loftus.law.
And a phone number for me, please?
773-632-8330. I'm not pointing at the desk. I'm pointing. There's a phone number there.
Right underneath this picture. Joey, how do they get hold of you if they want a pre-guarantee for their mortgage? I love that phrase. I'm sorry.
Asterisk, disclaimer,
Yeah, I know. I'll call Patrick Loftus.
Oh, my God. New phone, who dis?
Who dis?
You can hit me at 630-235-2405, or find me as at the VA Loan Nerd on the interwebs.
Interwebs. I haven't heard that one in a long time.
Don't waste my time asking for a prequel, though.
No, it's not going to happen, huh? All right, Kelly, how do they get hold of you?
So for real estate, please call me at 224-384-5224. I can make the process very easy, and it's a lot of fun, actually. I make it fun. We have a lot of laughs with my clients.
Absolutely. And you know what, though? That's a good thing. Again, it's building the rapport with the client, building our relationship with the client. The one thing that I learned through Business Networking International is first you got to get to know somebody, then you have to like them, and then finally you get to the trust point.
Yeah.
And once you get to that trust point, then we need to nurture that trust and keep it forever, because it's so important. So that means so much to me that you brought that up.
I agree.
My name is Charlie Belfontaine. I own Chicagoland Home Inspectors. Our website is thehomeinspectors.com. That's plural, ORS. And again, it's a .com. Our phone number is 312-544-9180 with over 1,550 five-star reviews. I know that one of my inspectors is listening right now, because he put up there on the comments that Joey needs to lower his caffeine intake. Only 1 cup of coffee is allowed for you, Joey. And that's it. And he's saying that with dear emotions and like. So we talked about, I want to get back to Kelly again with the preparing her clients, because, and this is such a big deal to me. Now, so we talked about finding the right house for them, contract signed. You prepped them a little bit on the home inspection. I mean, do you tell them that the home is going to be perfect and there's not going to be anything wrong with this stuff, or do you try to say, hey, get ready for a list?
I tell them, get ready for a what is it, 200-page report? No, it's not that much, but it's a
Sometimes.
long report. And I always assure them that, they can look through it themselves. However, their attorney will do a good job in detail of reviewing it. And then they work with the attorney to figure out, are we going to ask for credits? Are we going to ask for them to fix certain things if
Well,
it's
that's
not an
interesting.
as-is transaction?
I want to talk about that more because, one of the things, like, we do follow-up interviews with all of our clients. We go over the report with them. We bring them over to websites like HomeWise and different estimating softwares that we use, so we can give them a rough idea what it's going to cost to repair. I mean, there's always people that go out of the extremes. I get that. But they always, when they come back at me, and Patrick, I need you to chime in on this one. When they say that, should I ask for this? I really don't want to answer that question. I don't think I have enough information or knowledge to be able to tell them what they should or shouldn't do, because to me, it's what leverage is. How much leverage do you have is more important than anything else.
Well, sure. So there are so many factors involved. I mean, you probably won't know that they signed a contract with an as-is provision, for example. And so
you being me, the home inspector.
Right.
I won't know.
You won't know that that was a provision included in this contract. And if that's the case, that's going to change the analysis as far as should we proceed to ask for something. You won't know probably what the market is. I mean, you keep track of the market generally speaking, but each block can almost be a different market.
You're talking about like in the city of Chicago, each block is its own micro market.
Sure, but also you get out into the suburbs, every subdivision is going to probably act differently. A townhome in Northbrook, for example, is probably going to be a different discussion than a 5-bedroom, 3,000 square foot house.
Why is that?
Why is that? Because you're looking
and Kelly,
at,
chime in with them anytime.
Well, I'm speaking generally, but let's just say that probably in most cases a townhome is going to be a smaller square footage. It's going to have less bedrooms. It's going to have a different demographic in it. Not what I mean by that is that house is probably one where people are raising kids and doing, they're in that phase of their life and probably in the middle of their work life. A townhome is, and again, I'm speaking very generally here, maybe a younger couple, maybe a young professional, maybe an older couple who are empty nesters. And you can kind of start to get a feeling for those demographics are going to be looking for different things, and those are going to be different markets. Now they may want to live proximately to certain things, and that's where in a given suburb you will probably see that real estate behaves differently depending on exactly where you're at.
So, and I want to jump on that, and thank you. I appreciate all that stuff. But Kelly, I want you to kind of expound a little bit. I mean, do you believe that you should be hands off when it comes to negotiations, or do you believe that you should be intimately involved?
The way it's been for me since the beginning, and the way maybe I've been trained, is that once the inspection happens, then the negotiations are between the attorneys.
Interesting.
So I haven't been involved in a deal where I was negotiating a credit or repairs.
And this is where and maybe I'm way off base here, because I always tell my clients, talk to your real estate agent about this. They're the ones that are going to know what Patrick mentioned about the micro markets, all right? And how much leverage that you have. I mean, things are different from 2008 when it was a stupidly ridiculous buyer's market. People were giving their children away to sell their houses, as opposed to what it is last year and the year before.
Are you saying you gave a child away?
I used to have 9, now I have 3.
Oh,
all right, but that's all good. And I got 2 more stepchildren, so I made up for the other ones. And they were underachievers anyway, so it didn't matter so much, Is that mean or what? Over the line?
It's mean.
Mean. Had 3 from the beginning, still have 3 today.
All right.
But going back to last year and the year before, it was such a stupid seller's market that nobody was getting anything. when it came out for it. There was basically no negotiations that come in there. And this is where I find that I, as the home inspector, am weak on. I don't know the leverage that my client has. I don't know what that house is worth. I didn't do any, competitive market analysis. Is that the right phrase? I didn't do a CMA on that. I don't know how bad my clients want to buy. I don't know how bad the sellers want to sell. I don't know how many houses there are in the market, and also what they paid, compared to what it's worth. And I think a lot of that comes in there, but you have that information, do you not?
And I think too, for the inspection, right? You're talking strictly about the inspection.
I am.
If there's a disclosure, right? So I have a home on the market now where the client's disclosing they had a flood in 2020.
Okay.
So that's clear. It was repaired. Here it is. And if anything comes out of the inspection above and beyond what was disclosed that the seller had no knowledge of, that's when the negotiations will take place, if it's not an as-is transaction. And it's in the seller's best interest to, either fix it or give a credit, because otherwise they're going to run into the same issue with the next buyer.
Well, here's another thing that I appreciate when I'm brought into the mix on, and that is if something was negotiated during the initial negotiations. So something comes up during the inspection, let's say it's 30-year-old furnace, and the buyer goes, yeah, I need him to do something on the furnace. But there were already discussions prior to both sides signing the contract about the furnace, and that's more or less baked into the price that the parties agreed to. If I'm not, and the client usually won't mention that.
I was going to say, how would you know?
Exactly. So I don't want to, in that circumstance, write a letter that says do something on the furnace, because all that's going to do is it's going to make the seller think that we're trying to take yet another bite at that apple. And I don't want to, I'm not going to achieve anything with that. I want to set that aside. It's still going to be an issue for the client, because once it's an issue, it's going to be an issue most likely. But if we need to try to get some kind of concession, I want my focus to be elsewhere. I don't want to be leaning on something that was already talked about, negotiated, and put into the purchase price.
Kelly, do you bring that up when you talk about? I'm sorry, you were going to say something. I interrupted.
Oh, no. I was just going to say that makes a lot of sense, Patrick. And as long as I educate my buyer client that in advance of writing the offer, these are the ages of the mechanicals, we're writing our offer accordingly. And if it's in good functional working order, we're not going to be expecting a credit or replacement of that item.
Yeah, that's important.
And they were both higher end furnaces. But when we look at the combustion analysis numbers on the furnaces, when we take these things, we're right in the sweet range. These things are working perfectly. So just because they're 27 or 28 years old doesn't mean they're bad. And that being said, I've had 7-year-old furnaces also where the too much oxygen was coming in after the fire. Carbon monoxide was, almost off the charts. This furnace is done. All right. It's only 7 years old. But that's the whole idea, is being able to prove it if it's in good shape or not. Why are you grinning at me? You're giving me like I feel guilty.
I'd just be so annoyed if my furnace kicked off after 7 years. I would just be like, man, what kind of unlucky, Well,
I'll let you in on a little secret, and this is not carrier bashing, right? But the carrier furnaces they were high efficiency, so they were condensing furnaces, 90% plus, manufactured at 2012 and earlier, so older. They had a flaw in their secondary heat exchangers that they really only lasted for 5 years. And they would guarantee it, all right? So, they would warranty them. So they would go in there and replace the heat exchangers because they know that they failed in 5 years. But the warranty was good for 10 years. So now when they fail the second time, you need a new furnace and there's no warranty that comes in there. All right?
That would be very annoying.
It is. And then, if people don't get educated on those things, or the home inspector doesn't know about it, and let's face it, we don't know everything. And there's a big range from the quality of home inspectors that you work with as well. And I'm sure it's the same thing, Joey, when we're and same thing with the real estate agents, the same thing with the attorneys, we know what we're worth. All right. We know that if we do a good job, and we know the value that's behind that. But there's people that don't have the same values that I have. All right, they call themselves the same name that I call myself.
Well, that's true. And let me kind of rewind a moment. As far as the agent's involvement in in the inspection, rather, attorney reviews me. But the inspection stuff, I really like to work with agents on that. There are some things that agents are going to have an easier time or a better time talking to the other agent about, whereas I'm usually going to get a brick wall with the other lawyer. So there's sort of there's a little bit of a dance. I can kind of use the agent as a secret weapon a little bit. So
well, they're the ones that have the knowledge, and knowledge is power. So
well, they're definitely a big help, and as we've talked about for months now, and probably will talk about until the end, until we're done doing this. If everyone's not talking and not continuing to have a dialogue about things and asking each other questions and letting them know, being proactive about letting people know about aspects of the transaction.
Except for the home inspector. The home inspector is the redheaded stepchild, and they should be excluded on everything.
We don't got nothing to say to you.
Sounds good. We're running out of time, Patrick. Give us one last shout. How do people get hold of you, and who's special in your life?
Let me just take some time to say hello to the precious baby girl Naya T. Cat.
Naya T. Cat.
And
awesome.
My beautiful wife, Anna. You can contact me at 773-632-8330.
And Joey, one last time, how do they get hold of you?
Well, you can reach me at 630-235-2405 or follow me on the social medias as at the VA Loan Nerd.
I love it. And Kelly, one last time, how do they get hold of you?
Sure. Kelly at my phone is 224-384-5224.
Repeat that a little bit slower, please.
224-384-5224. And social media, check me out, Kelly Ipjian, Ipjian. We have a upcoming event as well in Highwood, April 17th, through the Realtor Association in the North Shore, NASBAR. It's our Young Professionals Network. So I'd love to invite other real estate agents or others in the industry to attend. So check it out.
Invite me. I want to go.
Yes, I will give you the invite.
All right. I like that a lot. And again, my name is Charlie Belfontaine. Our business is Chicagoland Home Inspectors. Our phone number is 312-544-9180. Repeating, 312-544-9180. Our website is thehomeinspectors.com. And I want to give a special thank you to a couple people. Number one is going to be Devin Tingle. He's our producer, and he's waving right now, and he's the one that makes us sound so good. And the other one is the president of our fan club. And yes, Kelly, we do have a fan club. Believe it or not, the membership is 2. There's my mother and father.
Can I join?
You can. We'll go up to 4.
Smash that like button.
Yeah.
You got to smash the like button in order to make it. So, Bernie, if you're sitting out there in the driveway listening, thank you. I love you. And for everybody else, thank you for listening to WCPT AM 820. This is Charlie, and I'm out.